What's up, guys? Good morning. I got to figure out what Maryland basketball has done, Maryland University has done to whoever made the final decisions here on this bracket because talk about conspiracy theories. You want to find a conspiracy theory? Maryland got so screwed in this bracket. I don't even know where to start. Everywhere I look, they get screwed. I mean, I am so happy that bracket's out. It's my favorite time of the year. I love it. The tournament's fantastic. I know everybody's excited. Maryland's back in it. But I mean, it's I really don't know where to start. I'm watching the show. It's, first of all, it's the best TV show we got. That's not a sporting event. It's best live show. No leaks. It's fantastic. And I'm sitting there with my wife, and I'm like, all right, no Florida, no St. John's, and we're definitely a three seed. And it's like wrong on all three fronts. So I'm gonna start there with the three seed stuff because I can't get through this. I will do a deep dive on Kentucky basketball this afternoon, and maybe I'm wrong. I didn't feel like doing it this morning. I was just there's no way Kentucky's the three seed and we're the four seed. I cannot believe that happened. That was the first blow where I'm like, how? Like, there's just no way. Kentucky's last time they played, that was by 30 points to Alabama. Why have these stupid conference tournaments? It was 99-70. I know because I had the stupid over and Kentucky couldn't score. That's a three seed. That just blows my mind. Give it to Wisconsin, even though Maryland should have it over Wisconsin. I can't believe it. Texas Tech and Iowa State get the other three seeds. That's what I expected. I was like, yep, Texas Tech, Iowa State probably get the other three seeds, and I was guessing. Maybe Clemson, probably not. Then when you see Louisville gets the 8 seed right out of the gate, you're like, geez, whiz, Louisville at the 8 seed? Woo, that was rough. So Clemson's definitely not getting the 3 seed. So I'm like, man, who's gonna be the 4-3 seed? And I'm sitting there, that's what's on my mind. Who's gonna be the 4-3 seed? And then the way it unfolds is, right, Maryland's in the last bracket. So it's like, all right, we're obviously going to be the 3 seed here. And I guess Texas Tech gets bumped to the 4 seed because of their Big 12 showing, because Kentucky had already gotten the 3 seed, and no, Maryland gets it. Maryland gets the 4 seed, and Texas Tech gets the 3 seed. And to make it worse, they're in by far the toughest bracket. If there's one team Maryland does not want to play in the Sweet 16, it would be Florida. I've been saying it all season, whether it was Houston or I know Tennessee's a 2 seed, but in my mind, we were going to be the 3, so that was a potential matchup. I like both of those matchups for Maryland way more than I liked a matchup against Florida. I'd rather at least play Duke and have some fun. I was like, man, maybe it could be the 4 seed in the East and play Duke in the Sweet 16. That would be a blast of a game to watch, even though it's probably not the best matchup in the world. Maybe we get Auburn as they're reeling. They haven't looked good down the stretch. Alabama's Grant Nelson, the big white guy on their team who's a senior and just keeps that team going. The reason why Alabama struggled is he's hurt. Nope, we don't get those teams. We're going to Florida, who is absolutely playing the best basketball. It's not even up for debate. Whether or not they win the whole thing, I don't know. But they're definitely playing the best basketball. So you're going to get Florida in the Sweet 16. And then the funny part about it is, well, it's like, well, I hope Florida just gets, maybe they could lose. The 1 seed loses to the 8-9. It's like, well, who's the 8-9 in that region? Well, it's UConn and Oklahoma. So, yeah, I would rather not play UConn trying to three-peat after they just beat Florida. That doesn't seem like an ideal matchup. And that's me jumping the gun because before we get to the potential UConn-Florida matchup, you got to face Memphis as the 5 seed. This is just unbelievable. PJ Haggerty is Memphis's best player. He did not play in the championship game yesterday because it was a back-to-back. He's definitely going to play in the tournament. I shouldn't say definitely. I would be shocked if he does not play in this tournament. Memphis has a legit chance to win the whole thing. Like, they're really good. They win yesterday by 12 without, like I said, without PJ Haggerty. I imagine he's going to play, but regardless, they're playing Colorado State, who's won 10 in a row. So if Memphis wins with PJ Haggerty, that's a 50-50 game against Maryland in any arena, period. Like, that's a really, really tough matchup. Memphis is really good. But if not, you're going to face Colorado State's won 11 in a row. And then before I could just like breathe and be like, oh, well, at least we're going to probably have an easy first round matchup, we definitely get the hardest 13 seed. Like Grand Canyon is a perennial tournament team. Like this is just bull. I mean, I'm laughing about it because I'm like mad, not like fake mad, I guess, because I feel like this Maryland team has a legitimate chance to win the whole thing. I didn't even care that they lost to Michigan at the buzzer like that. I actually convinced myself that was a good thing. They didn't have to play yesterday. Then they get to be pissed off for an entire week. They scored 57 points in the first half. Last time they had a week off. So I don't know. I didn't even care that they lost. Now I do because, geez whiz, this is Grand Canyon. 2021, they're a 15 seed and lose to Iowa by 12. They don't make it in 2022, but they make it in 2023 and lose to Gonzaga by 12 as a 14 seed. And then last year, as a 12 seed, they beat St. Mary's by 9. Like, dominate that game. I remember watching the game and being like, I love Grand Canyon. Hey, I got to go back and listen to the pod. This is so ridiculous. As soon as the company, it just becomes me right around this time. And yeah, I had the over with Grand Canyon in Alabama. And that game was 72-61, did not go over. And I was rooting so hard for Grand Canyon in that game. And then I hate betted against Alabama the following week and took Carolina, and they lost. But my point is, Grand Canyon's freaking good. They got Bryce Drew. Oh, Lord. The coach for Grand Canyon is, a legend from Valparaiso. This is just an unbelievable draw. And then just to moan and bitch one more time, where do they send us? Seattle? Like, first of all, Grand Canyon University is in Arizona. Like, how are they going to have a home field advantage here? I know Arizona and Seattle is not close, but they're on the same time, whatever. God almighty. Maryland goes all the way to Seattle. The only good thing about the way technology's improved is I guess they have these sophisticated algorithms to punch out what time the games are going to start. So we get that right away. Usually you have to wait like a whole day to be like, when are we going to play? When are we going to play? So that comes out right away. Maryland at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon in Seattle. So that means they would be playing Sunday. They could be the early game when they're 4:30. I guess they could go either way. They could be most likely they'll be the early game because the Memphis Colorado State game precedes Maryland. That'll be the 2 o'clock ish game. So 4:30 is probably bullshit. It'll probably be closer to 5:15, 5:30. Because it'll be about a half hour or so after the Memphis Colorado State game. Those games, they just always take longer than you think. So Memphis is playing Colorado State, and Maryland's going to play the winner of that. And because Memphis and Colorado State are playing, 2 o'clock, I imagine that on Sunday, who knows how they do these things, but maybe Maryland plays early on Sunday. But wow, that is a hell of a draw for Maryland. I mean, just a really I just really can't believe it. I really can't. So to go over the West region and how I see it playing out, and then I'm gonna do a pod with. I think I'm gonna do a pod with J Mart and do a pod with Clayton and just go through their brackets. And I always feel like having, depending on who you're listening to, if you listen to too many people, you drive yourself crazy. You're better off picking just a handful of people that you want to listen to for an overall perspective on a bracket. Hopefully, I'm one of them. And then just really go with your gut. And I promise the line movement here is really irrelevant. So don't start thinking because the line is this or the line is that it means anything. The people making these lines are guessing. This is the most ridiculous tournament. If you're betting on it, bet futures more than anything is what I suggest because then you can hedge down the stretch. And all right, so yeah, Florida's going to play Norfolk State. And then UConn's going to play Oklahoma. And I really hope Oklahoma wins that game because I do not want to play UConn and don't want to play Florida. My initial gut was favoring UConn. I like UConn to win the Big East tournament. I didn't like how they played down the stretch against Creighton. Kind of torn on UConn and Creighton because I think both of those teams are actually better. I think they're both going to win their first round matchups. I can't believe Creighton was stuck in the 8 seed. So I imagine UConn's going to beat the crap out of Oklahoma because I just think UConn is going to turn it on. I saw enough out of it. But if they are going to, like, I think, as weird as it sounds, I expect them to play better against Florida the second game. Like, if they come out of the gate and they just don't have it, and Oklahoma pounces on them. Maybe it's just the season from hell from Dan Hurley as the ego got too big. But if they win that game, I'm going to be taking UConn to cover the spread at least against Florida because they'll basically be playing as an underdog as a three-time going for their three-peat. Never been done in the whole nine, or at least never been done since I can remember before John Wooden. And yeah, so I that UConn Oklahoma game is gonna be an interesting one. The Memphis Colorado State game, I already mentioned that. If what's his face plays Haggerty, like Memphis is really good. I haven't seen a ton of Colorado State, so yeah, that's that one. I'll look forward to watching that game for sure because Maryland will hopefully play the winner. I'm going to dive in this Grand Canyon team. I know they're good. I know they're athletic. I know they're gonna push Maryland. So the only positive I can say about the matchup is Maryland be prepared for Memphis. If it's going to be Memphis, because Grand Canyon's really good. They were really good last year. I imagine they, with the record they have, winning the conference tournament, I imagine it's not going to be a fun game for Maryland. So we'll see how that plays out. Looking forward to doing the whole scouting report and whatnot. So Missouri and Drake is so the bottom half of the bracket plays on Thursday, and they are all in Wichita. And never mind, they're all over the place. Missouri and Drake are in Wichita. That's another thing when you start betting on these games, like where they're playing. Huge factor. That's why I mentioned Grand Canyon doesn't get the time difference. Maryland does. Just an added piece of bullshit to go along with the draw that they have. But anyway, as we go down, the 6-11 is Missouri and Drake. And my gut tells me Drake beats Missouri because Missouri is not like I like the style of play that Drake has, which is tough defense, wearing down. Missouri wants to win scoring. They're a little smaller. I don't know. Drake's been there a bunch. Feels like I'll probably lean Drake there. Texas Tech is the 3, and they're going to get UNC Wilmington. I don't know much about UNC Wilmington. Texas Tech certainly didn't look good against Arizona in the Big 12 championship. Hard to figure out Texas Tech this year. Their ceiling is super high. They win at Houston with a bunch of bench players as their coach gets ejected. But I don't know. They're kind of hot and cold. So, yeah, I don't know much about UNC Wilmington, but that would be a spot if you're looking for an upset. Kansas and Arkansas. I want to take Calipari here. What a classic matchup we get. This game's going to be Thursday at 7 o'clock, featured game on CBS. Arkansas is just, they're a pain in the ass to bet on. I've kind of been 50-50 with them this year. Win some, lose some. Kansas they got DeJuan, forget Harris, the point guard, has been there forever. He's so much more steady than Arkansas. Arkansas is chaotic. It's probably a fun game. I don't know if I can bet on that one. And then St. John's is in our bracket. I'm telling you, before the Final Four, before they had this bracket, before the show yesterday, I was like, my Final Four is probably going to be Maryland, Florida, St. John's, and maybe UConn if I want to take a chance. It's like they're all 4 in the bracket. It really blows my mind that this is our draw. But anyway, St. John's is playing Omaha. St. John's is going to lose in the first weekend. Better chance that they lose to Omaha than they lose to Arkansas or Kansas. Maybe they're just too high coming off the Big East, and Omaha is a good team. I don't know. But Kansas, Arkansas, I don't think either of those teams match up well with St. John's. So I would think St. John's heads to the Elite Eight fairly easily because if they get Texas Tech, I think they're a better version of Texas Tech. I love St. John's. I think they get all the way to the Elite Eight, and then, God, I hope Maryland gets there. But, woo, if I haven't made it obvious, I don't think they have the best draw possible. Would have loved almost any other scenario. Would have loved to play Duke as the 4 seed, and then that 5 would have been Clemson. Just so many different things they could have done for us. But, hey, if we're going to win the national championship, if we're going to get to the Final Four, we're certainly going to earn it. And, yeah, no more pitching. Now I'll start to speak positivity into existence, but that was my reaction. I'm going to get through all the games over the next couple of days. Good luck. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to send me a message. And, yeah, have a great afternoon. And sure, I don't know how to spin this at the end to a positive. I will say this before I go. I harped on Maryland being okay that they lost at the buzzer. And the reason why I think that's okay, just to take the whole deep breath out of this, is Maryland plays their absolute best when they're well rested. Like, he went to the bench early. in the Big Ten tournament because, he thought he could afford to in the Illinois game for sure. And then he tried it a little bit in the Michigan game just to kind of see where the legs were at. I didn't mind it. But going into this Grand Canyon game, they will be really well rested. So it might be a little bit of a sloppy game as far as, shots not necessarily going in early. But I think Maryland's effort and energy was so good against Illinois. Like that game was so good that even though we have a ridiculous draw, I still think there's valid hope that Maryland gets all the way through it. It's just going to be each game's going to be a battle. So, all right, see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.